Hello marketers, we're going to talk about the Influencer Marketing Week in Review. We're going to discuss influencer earning power on Instagram, why only 5% of enterprises have an integrated marketing plan that includes influencer marketing, and then of course, how could you not see what's going on with the Starbucks unicorn campaign? So joining me today is Gil Ayal, CEO and co-founder of Hyper. Welcome, Gil.
Hi, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing well. It looks like you're in New York City.
That's correct, in the World Trade Center.
Let's just jump right into the topics. We have three. The first one is a Forbes article that you and I were kind of talking about, and that is, here's how much influencers can make on Instagram and YouTube. And in it, they talk about some of these Instagrammers making $3,000 to $5,000 per post and between $20,000 and $100,000 per campaign. So first, Gil, I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. I mean, I would rarely pay somebody $3,000 to $5,000 per post unless they can massively move the needle. I mean, provable million views or a high engagement rate. If you're not getting either one of those things, I wouldn't pay $3,000 to $5,000. So I don't know who they were surveying or who's paying that kind of money for a single post, but I hope they're talking about some of the what I call tier one influencers. Do you have any opinion on that?
I agree. I mean, I think it's reflective of the fact that this industry is behind from a data perspective. We don't know much about the influencers. It's hard to discover alternative influencers, but there are tons of them. And when I read these articles, sometimes I wonder whether they're swayed by the fact that they spoke to people who maybe work with the influencers or present the influencers and have an interest in raising prices. But typically, yes, there is that portion at tier A that gets paid an enormous amount of money because when they work with a brand, they have to consider the fact that they'll never be able to work with a competing brand. So if I work with Nike and I'm a super big influencer, I'm not going to be able to go work with Reebok. But with these smaller second-tier influencers, brands work with them without checking what their audience looks like. They work with them without really seeing what alternatives out there. And the truth is that plenty of brands are paying a lot less than that. And I am very suspicious of articles like these. I would never recommend a brand pay that much unless they really know that they're going to get measurable results.
And here's the problem with articles like this. It raises the prices on everybody because they point to this Forbes article and they're like, oh, they're making $3,000 to $5,000 per post. Yes, some people do make that kind of money. I don't want to say it, they don't, but they really got to move the needle. Here's the issue with it. We're all going to get in trouble here, and I think Gary Vaynerchuk said it best, marketers always screw this thing up. If you're paying $3,000 to $5,000 and you're not getting anywhere near that in return, it's going to make us all look bad. People are going to say influencer marketing doesn't work. In fact, I did a research study on Twitter where I sent out a survey to 100,000 followers, and I got back an interesting kind of result. 1/3 said, what is influencer marketing? I mean, these are marketers, so we haven't done our job in getting the word out. Another third said, yeah, we tried influencer marketing, it didn't work. And I asked them why, and just for a variety of reasons, they overpaid, or they didn't know how to implement it, or the agency they went with is a PR agency and they didn't know what they're doing. And then another third said, oh my God, it was the best thing we've ever done, and we're going to continue to do it. So interesting, different types of responses. And I think, if you look at the first two groups, A, they haven't heard of it. I don't know what rock they've been hiding under. But B, the group that it didn't work, I think it's been because they're paying $3,000 to $5,000 for an Instagram post and not seeing a result. Either the expectations weren't set, or they didn't realize that it's very hard to convert somebody from Instagram to buying a product.
I think you're absolutely right with this point as well. One of the challenges we're seeing is that people are doing it wrong. And it's easier for somebody that you hired who did it for you and didn't work to say, oh, I guess influencer marketing doesn't work, or maybe it's not a good fit for you. But really it just did it wrong. And we've seen countless times when you do it correctly, the returns are tremendous, sometimes 5 to 10 times better than what you would get from traditional digital marketing. You don't have to deal with things like ad blockers or banner blindness. You're speaking to an audience that's really interested in the influencer. So if you do it correctly, you pick influencers that really can move the needle for you, there's no reason why it wouldn't succeed. But that's part of just being part of a nascent industry. I think 2 or 3 years we won't be having this discussion because all these measurement tools will show you that it works. But today they're just being built, they're not there yet. And I'm with you 100%. I think the biggest challenge for the industry today is to convince people that it's a real thing. And there are plenty of people that would rather believe it's not a real thing than spend the money and the time that it would require them to check whether it is.
Let's move to the second topic. Only 5% of enterprises have an integrated influencer marketing strategy, according to a new report. So this just blows me away. 5% of big companies have an influencer marketing strategy. I mean, I know a lot of them have done it, but according to this report, they're just one-offs.
I think it's not surprising to me. I think the biggest challenge is that the technology is not there. If you think about the early days of digital, everybody was opposed to trying it. People were used to calling up a magazine and buying an ad, and the technology to automate, to make things easy, to make things measurable isn't there. And if you're a big enterprise, you need to answer questions. So you've run an influencer campaign, and concurrently somebody else is running Google AdWords and somebody else is running Facebook ads, and they come back to the same boss and they say, well, we spent $1 and we got $2 in value. And you come back and say, well, I spent $1 and I got 25 likes. And it's really hard within these big corporations to justify that spend, not because it wasn't a good spend, but because they're not used to speaking that language. I think that's going to change. We're seeing it. Technology is being developed. People are starting to measure. And if influencer marketing is done right and is effective, then it's going to stand out, and more companies are going to start adopting it.
I asked them, okay, so you're seeing you've got a big spend in TV. And a company I was just talking to spends $10 million a year on TV, and they're testing influencer marketing with a $100,000 budget. And I'm like, how are you, because they said, well, we'd invest more, but we can't measure it. We don't know if it's going to work. We don't understand it. And I'm like, how are you measuring your success on TV? And, they went through this long litany of things that kind of hint at whether it works or not, but they don't really know. There's not anything direct unless there's a coupon or a 1-800 number that they're placing across it. But the companies we're talking to, not doing that. They're putting toy commercials on TV and hoping that kids go and rush and buy it after seeing it. So, and a lot of times there's a latency, right, because of Christmas. So I don't understand why only 5% of enterprises don't have an integrated influencer marketing strategy, but I suspect you're right. In time, they will start to turn the corner and be able to justify these budgets and say, hey, let's make a bigger investment.
Yeah, I think as younger people enter these organizations, and I'm talking to a lot of students who work in social media, who intern in social media, they're entering this organization that has people who've been used to digital marketing, the TV advertising, and this influencer marketing, this new channel is really new to them, and it's really hard for them to digest, but it's just a process that's going to happen, and because it's so effective, because it's so strong, we'll eventually penetrate these spaces. Okay.
In our last segment, the Starbucks Frappuccino campaign involving, what do they call it, a unicorn Frappuccino? Now, I went and I tried this drink unashamedly. I kind of liked it. But I like really sour, really sweet things. I'll have the occasional candy, and I thought it was pretty good. I know it's split 50-50 about how many people like this particular drink or not. What are your thoughts on the campaign, how Starbucks pulled it off?
I think it's brilliant. I suspect Starbucks has a lot more to do with the way their baristas are behaving than people would like to admit. A while back, there was a story that Starbucks has baristas misspell customer names because they found that makes you share it on social media. So this kind of reminds me of that. Baristas saying, I don't want to make this drink. And what do you say? Well, I got to go get a barista to make this drink. I think the response has been hilarious. And I think this shows a company that really understands how to get social media going. You kind of shock and awe, a little bit of a funny story, unicorn, powder, health, not health, baristas, internal warfare about whether they want to make it or they don't want to make it. And look how much attention you get for free. And I think it's just brilliant. Yeah,
I love how they combine a popular topic, unicorns, with the drink. And it made it very Instagrammable. People wanted to take pictures. I know I did. I put it up on Facebook, got a lot of conversations started about it. But just the way they pulled this off, they were letting people know weeks in advance, their ambassadors, their Starbucks ambassadors, their influencers, weeks in advance, hey, this is coming. And they didn't say whether it was a joke or not. So people really didn't know until a few days before they released this drink and said, no, this isn't a joke, this is really happening. The funniest response I saw, Gil, was from a barista that was yelling and screaming about, hey, don't order this drink, you're driving us crazy.
So because it's been so popular online, everyone's like, oh my gosh, I need to try it when it comes out. Well, today it came out, and I have to tell you, please don't get it! I have never made so many Frappuccinos in my entire life. My hands are completely sticky. I have unicorn crap all in my hair and on my nose. I have never been so stressed out in my entire life.
That was awesome. I don't know if that was planned or not, but I think that just makes people more likely to go in and order because they're being inundated with these drink requests.
Yeah, and that, that's a sign of a company that really gets it, is willing to take a bit of a risk. Not a lot of big companies and big corporations would do something like this, and this is exactly playing that fine line. And if the baristas weren't in on it, if Starbucks wasn't in on it, then they sure as hell handled it really well. Some companies would respond by reprimanding or by saying you shouldn't do this. They got in on the joke, and I think that was a great way to handle it. And I don't know if I can bring myself to drink one, but I definitely want to see one in real life. So.
If you want to subscribe to our channel, hit the button below. Also comment, give us your ideas about future shows and what we should be covering. And then comment on this one. If you disagreed with me but agreed with Gil, please let us know. Also, recognize that Hyper is a sponsor of this channel. Go to Hyper's website, which is, Gil?
www.hyperbrands.com, hyper without an E.
Well, there'll be links down below, so don't worry about it. Go to them and check out this solution. We recommend it. This is what we use almost daily because of the requests we get from our customers. So with that, Gil, thanks again, and until next week.
Thanks for having me.